Episode 27 of the Interpretation Station is called to order. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Interpretation Station in the Wham, Bam, Thank You, Roland format. So today we're looking at a statement that I did notes for about a week ago, I think it was, from French. It was by the president of the OHCHR Human Rights Branch. It was the opening statement to the UN Advisory Committee. You can see the statement here before you, hopefully. And let's get into it. Let's see what comments I made. Let's see what words I gave you, etc. So, President of the Human Rights Councils were attending this meeting, so I just put that at the beginning, a couple of the important names. So, Human Rights Council has a présidente, okay. It's a lady, she's the ambassador of Fiji at the moment. I think her surname is Khan, Ambassador Khan, I think. The advisory committee, le comité consultatif, that on the other hand has a chairman. Generally, it's the bigger organs that have the presidents. The sort of more subsidiary bodies tend to have chairs. Okay, so then I get into the text. J'ai l'honneur et le plaisir, and here I've just my approach is that you want to try and cut as much as you can, try and save time. Probably the sound is going to be pretty bad. So, I mean, I don't think you need to say both an honor and a pleasure. I mean, you can if you want, but I think in theory, you could just cut one. Just say it's my honor to welcome you here. Okay. Then I see here on the next line, let me just show you with the mouse. There we go. So this is the advisory committee of the Human Rights Council. And as I say in the margin there, as this is the opening statement, you should try to give full names of bodies. Afterwards, you can shorten. So as a rule, you want to try and the first time you talk about these bodies or organs, try and get the full name in, and afterwards you can call it, you can call it the council or the committee or the HRC, whatever. Okay, then I put a little star here again. The president of the council. Now then, I remember I actually did this statement live. You can probably find it somewhere in the records. So then he reels off a whole lot of names of new members and old members of the committee. So I'll just give you some advice. If you notice a whole string of hard to pronounce names are coming off, just switch off the mic. Let him do the job for you. Let him make a fool of himself trying to get his mouth around these names. So that's just a sort of bit of a tip. If you're newer to this, if you can sense a whole string of names coming up, just switch your mic off and let the chairman work it out. Okay. Next line, I've just deleted there. Okay, vous apprêtez à, you're about to start. I mean, in English, we can say as you're starting this 25th session. Again, avant tout in the next line. You don't really need it if you're in a hurry. Okay, this has actually been quite a new. This is a phrase I've only learned relatively recently. As plage horaire. It's not really been a factor until the COVID business started, because everyone was in the room, everyone was in the same meeting. Now, with everyone tuning in remotely, everyone's in a different time zone wherever they are around the world. And when he said it, and I couldn't remember the phrase immediately in English. So it's just a good one to remember. Okay, plage horaire are the time zones. Okay, then we go down to here. N'a cessé, so talking about COVID, n'a cessé de se propager depuis. It just means is still spreading. Okay, continues to spread, is still spreading. And then again here, s'est rapidement fait sentir, was soon felt, was quickly felt. Again there. Okay, en effet, with en effet, that's a phrase you can always skip. You really don't need to reflect that. That's just that's fat that can be trimmed. Franchir le cap in French, it's quite a common expression, to reach the mark, reach the milestone, maybe if you want to be a bit fancier. Okay, then down here I say, okay, try to give their full names as it's the opening statements, and they are the big bosses I've written here. So similar to what I said at the start, when you talk about these bodies and organs, you want to give them their full name initially. So same applies here, really. It's the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, and the UN Secretary General. So yeah, when the first time you mention them, you want to try and get their full sort of title in. So yeah. She's the Madam High Commissioner of Human Rights and the UN Secretary General. And then here he quotes the Secretary General. Now, I don't know what the Secretary General said in the original, I must admit. I don't even know what language he would have spoken in the original Guterres, because sometimes he speaks Spanish, sometimes French, sometimes Portuguese, sometimes he calls it Portuñol, a mixture of Portuguese and Spanish, and sometimes English. So this may be a direct quote, or it may be translated. Okay, so, and here he talks, une nouvelle vague de troubles sociaux. So, just as a synonym for a wave, a surge. I think I talked about that yesterday in my video from Russian. I like this word, a surge, all right? De nombreuses incertitudes. I mean, in English, I think we can just reflect that. So just much uncertainty. We don't talk about, it seems a bit odd to quantify the uncertainties. I think we just say much uncertainty. Now, here's my favorite phrase. Nous devons mieux reconstruire à l'issue de la pandémie. As I say here, it is the cliche of the year, probably the cliche of the decade, and maybe even the cliche of the century. Build back better. Yep, and I hear, shall we? C'est dans cette optique. Okay, that just basically means therefore. All right, you don't need, you can say along those lines to that end, but just, if you want to be quick about it, this therefore. Okay, then, d'avancer en faisant face à. It seems a very long-winded way of saying in French in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words, what basically just comes down to overcome or surmount. It talks about obstacles, overcoming obstacles, surmounting obstacles. You choose. Okay, une multitude. I've given you an interesting sort of, or at least I think it's interesting, simile here. I mean, I guess you could use the calc, a multitude of technological obstacles, but I do like this word, a plethora. I do like that. Okay, and then here, dans le seul but qu'est le nôtre. This is a bit of a French flower, isn't it? Qu'est le nôtre. They like, we don't really need to reflect that again in English. We can just say, with the sole goal of doing whatever it is. Our only goal being to, so you don't need to completely reflect that French flourish. And again, celui de la, this is all a bit flowery. Our sole goal, that of promoting and protecting human rights. And then the last, okay, so distinguer membre. So I've deleted distinguer membre. That's one of those classic things. I always say, if you're in a hurry, bad sound, that's a chance to get your breath back, is just to skip that when they say distinguished president or distinguished members. So you can just feel free to leave that out. De dresser un tableau. I tend to go, when they talk about dresser un tableau, the first expression that usually comes to mind is to paint a picture. That's what usually, or portray. I tend to go for paint a picture. But then it occurred to me here that this could be a very good alternative, an expression, again, that's used a lot in English, but maybe we just wouldn't consider using it when interpreting. You have all these expressions you see in your vocabularies that are just lying dormant, that you read all the time in newspapers, that you absorb, but that you never then, you find that it's remarkable how little you use them when you're actually, in the heat of action. So I'm trying to awaken your dormant vocabulary. So he's charted out the council activities. That's what he did. He charted them out. All right. Que je voudrais compléter. So I think I put supplement here. I think it sounds better than I want to complement. Supplement. Anyway, supplement, complement, whatever you prefer. En attirant votre attention sur certains développements. I mean, I guess the standard way of doing this would be to attract your attention to. Again, there's quite a lot of syllables there, isn't it? To attract your attention to. That's 8 syllables. Where it just basically means alert you to, 4 syllables. Okay, that's all it means. Draw your attention to, attract your attention to. Long-winded way of saying to alert you to. Certain developments au sein des Nations Unies. Okay, so I've just said that you don't need to say the United Nations. You can just say the UN. That's fine. And then finally, du Bureau du OHCHR. Now, I can't remember if he, in the original, did he use the acronym or did he say the Conseil? I mean, the French tend to use acronyms a lot less than we do in English. Either way, obviously, this is if you're doing a lot of stuff with human rights, a lot of work with human rights, that's a very important acronym to know, and obviously for English, the OHCHR, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, okay? And then you can call her the High Commissioner as well. That's another alternative. Don't call it the High Commission, though. Don't call it the Commission. You talk about the High Commission, that tends to refer to UNHCR, the High Commission for Refugees. So she is the High Commissioner, the Office of the High Commissioner. That's very important. And she has a bureau. That's just the calc. Okay, it's not her office. At least with many of these UN committees, they have bureaus as opposed to just simple offices. So. Four times out of five, bureau is going to be the bureau. Okay, so that was a very quick episode for you today, as it always is with the Wham Bam Thank You Roland format. Hope it was useful for you. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up button. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. You better subscribe, okay? And that's pretty much it for today. We'll be back for more. We haven't done a Spanish one in a while, so we'll do a Wham Bam Thank You Roland Spanish one in the next couple of days, hopefully. And we'll have another Spanish tutorial coming up this week. Oh, yes, so keep your eye out for that. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today. So all I have to say is that episode 27 of the Interpretation Station is adjourned.
The train is now leaving the interpretation station. We hope you enjoyed your visit